My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, and now she's claiming half my $800, $0 inheritance, even though she was never officially on the title. How do I fight her in court when she's threatening to ruin me financially over the property I inherited from my parents? Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be sitting here telling this story, but I guess life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. It all started with a gut feeling, like that nagging sensation you ignore until it becomes undeniable. You know, the kind of feeling you get when something just doesn't sit right anymore, and no matter how much you try to brush it off, it keeps creeping back. That's exactly how it was with Sarah, my wife. We'd been married for 6 years, and honestly, everything seemed fine on the surface. She was beautiful, ambitious, always acting like she had her life perfectly mapped out. But behind the scenes, things were falling apart, or so I thought. It began subtly. Small things, really. She'd be more defensive when I asked about her whereabouts, brushing off questions about her evening plans. She started wearing more makeup, staying out later, and I noticed her phone was glued to her hand more than usual. I'd catch her sneaking around, hiding her texts or quickly deleting messages when I entered the room. I dismissed it at first. Maybe she was just stressed about work or something. But then I found her leaving her phone open one night, and I saw a message from someone named Mike that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about last time." My stomach clenched. Last time. What the hell did that mean? I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started paying more attention. I set up some cameras around the house, just a little security thing I'd read about online, thinking it was just paranoia. But the footage told me everything I needed to know. One night I saw her sneaking out of the house at 11 p.m., meeting someone in the driveway. It was dark, but I recognized the silhouette. Sure enough, it was Mike, our neighbor. I'd seen him around, a guy in his early 40s, always friendly, always waving when I mowed the lawn. But that night he looked different. They hugged, kissed briefly, then got into her car and drove off. My chest went cold. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife Sarah cheating on me with Mike, our neighbor, someone I'd always trusted. It felt like my world was collapsing. The worst part, she'd been lying to me for months. She'd always been bitchy, yes, but I never thought she'd do something like this. I confronted her the next day, armed with the footage, expecting her to crack. Instead, she spun some story about how I was paranoid, how I didn't understand her, that she was just talking to Mike about some work issue. She called me crazy, said I was overreacting. But I knew the truth. That moment, seeing her with Mike, changed everything. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about betrayal on a level I never thought possible. I started feeling angry, hurt, and betrayed all at once. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me after all we'd been through. And what made it worse was the way she lied, how she made me feel like I was losing my mind. I was furious, but I also felt this deep sadness, like I was mourning the wife I thought I knew. I kept replaying those moments, trying to understand how someone so bitchy, so manipulative could do something so cruel. That's when I started thinking about my options. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. I'd worked so hard for that inheritance, $800, my parents left me, and now she was claiming she was entitled to half of it. She's been throwing around the idea that since we're married, she's got a right to my money even though she's not on the title. I mean, I inherited that property from my parents, and legally it's in my name alone. But she's threatening to drag me through court, claiming she's entitled to half of everything, including the inheritance. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about her trying to take everything I had built. I started researching, talking to lawyers, figuring out how to protect myself. I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation, spin lies, and make me look like the bad guy. That bitchy attitude she's got, it's her weapon. She's already lying about how she's been the perfect wife, how I'm the one messing everything up trying to turn the tables. But I'm not stupid. I know her game. She's always been good at twisting things, making herself look innocent while she's out there screwing around. Now I've got a plan. I want to fight her in court to keep what's mine and to make her pay for what she's done. But I also know it's not going to be easy. She's threatening to ruin me financially, to drag this out, to make me lose everything. Honestly, I'm scared of losing my money, my reputation, my peace of mind. But I also feel a fire inside me now. I can't let her get away with this. Not after what she did. Not after she lied, cheated, and tried to steal my life. So here I am, trying to figure out my next move, knowing that the next few weeks are going to be a mess. I never thought I'd be in this situation, but I guess life has a way of throwing curveballs. And when it does, you either stand your ground or get knocked out. I plan to stand my ground, no matter what it takes. After I saw what she was doing, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and my mind kept circling back to that footage of Sarah sneaking out at night. The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut, but what hurt even more was the thought of her trying to take everything I've worked for. My inheritance, the house, all the money I inherited from my parents. It was like she was trying to steal my life, my future, right out from under me. I sat down one night staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just seen. I kept asking myself, how did I miss this? How did I let her get away with it for so long? I thought about all the little things, her bitchy attitude, her snide comments, the way she'd roll her eyes when I asked about her plans. I started to realize that I'd been blind, or maybe I just didn't want to see it. But now it was all too clear. She'd been cheating, lying, and scheming behind my back, and I had the evidence to prove it. The next morning, I decided I needed to confront her. I didn't want to do it right away, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. I called her into the living room, trying to keep my voice steady, but my hands were trembling. I played the footage on my laptop, showing her sneaking out, meeting Mike, kissing him. Her face went pale. She tried to deny it at first, saying I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But I pressed her harder, showing her the timestamps, the angles, everything. Her reaction was classic. She got defensive, started calling me crazy, said I was overreacting like I always do. She told me I was making a big deal out of nothing, that she was just talking to Mike about some work project, that I was jealous and insecure. I could see the lie in her eyes, and I wasn't buying it. I told her I knew about the affair, about everything, and that I wasn't going to let her ruin me. That's when she threw a fit, bitching, yelling, calling me names. She said I was controlling, that I didn't trust her, and that she deserved better than a boring husband like me. Honestly, I was furious, but I also felt this deep sadness. It hurt to see her deny everything, to hear her lie so blatantly. I couldn't believe the woman I married was capable of this. She always had a sharp tongue, always knew how to cut me down, but I never thought she'd cheat on me with our neighbor Mike. That bastard. I felt betrayed, angry, and helpless all at once. I wanted to lash out, to yell at her, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. But I just sat there trying to keep my composure, knowing that this was only the beginning. The emotional toll was heavy. I started questioning everything, my judgment, my worth, the future I'd envisioned with her. I kept replaying the moments when she was bitchy, the little digs, the sly comments. Now I saw they were all signs of something deeper, something rotten underneath. I wondered how I hadn't seen it earlier, how I'd been so blind to the truth. It was like waking up from a nightmare, only to realize that the nightmare was real, and I was in the middle of it. I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living like this, with the constant suspicion hanging over me. I also had to protect my inheritance, the house, the money that I inherited from my parents. That's when I started researching legal options. I talked to a lawyer I found online, a guy who specialized in family law and property rights. He told me that because I inherited the house in my name alone, Sarah probably had no claim to it, but she might try to argue she's entitled to half the inheritance if she can spin a convincing story. She's already been lying about her reasons for meeting Mike, claiming it's just a friendship, and that I'm overreacting. She's good at lying, I'll give her that. I decided I needed to be prepared for a fight. I gathered all the evidence, screenshots of her texts, the footage, bank statements showing her spending money on Mike, everything. I also made a mental note of her bitchy attitude, her manipulative ways, and her constant attempts to guilt-trip me into giving her what she wants. She's already claiming I'm emotionally abusive, that I've been controlling her, which is a flat-out lie. I've always been straightforward, maybe too trusting, but I'm not going to let her gaslight me now. The worst part is knowing she's probably planning her next move. She's the type to lie her way out of anything, to turn facts around and make herself look innocent. She's already started crying, claiming she's the victim, that I don't love her anymore, that I'm just trying to control her. But I see through her. I see the bitch behind the pretty face, the manipulative woman who's willing to cheat, lie, and steal just to get her way. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my head clear. I don't want to lose my inheritance, and I definitely don't want her taking everything I worked for. I know I have a legal fight ahead of me, but I'm ready. I want to show her that I'm not going to be pushed around, that I'm serious about protecting what's mine. I don't care how much she screams, how many lies she tells. She's not getting a dime of my inheritance unless a court says so. And I plan to make sure that doesn't happen. I've never been one to back down from a fight, and now I've got one on my hands. The more I dug into the legal side of things, the clearer it became how much trouble I was actually in. Sarah's already throwing around accusations that I've been emotionally abusive, controlling, and that I've kept her from having her own life. She's painting herself as the victim, trying to turn everyone against me. Meanwhile, I've got the footage, the bank statements, and the texts that prove she's been sneaking around with Mike, lying to my face, and trying to manipulate me into giving her a share of my inheritance. I met with a lawyer who specializes in property law and divorce cases. His name is David, and he's been doing this for over 20 years. He looked at all my evidence, listened to my side, and then told me what I already suspected. Because I inherited the house and the money in my name alone, Sarah doesn't have a legal claim to it, unless she can prove some kind of joint ownership, which she clearly can't. But that didn't stop her from threatening to drag me into court and claim half my inheritance anyway. She's good at twisting facts and making herself look innocent, but I knew I had to be prepared. David told me I should start documenting everything, every argument, every lie, every suspicious move she makes. He also advised me to get a restraining order if she starts to threaten or harass me, which I was prepared to do. I told him I was worried she'd try to spin the story in her favor, claiming I was the bad guy, that I'd been controlling and abusive. He reassured me that with the evidence I had, I'd have a strong case. Still, it was unsettling to think how far she might go to get what she wants. In the meantime, Sarah's behavior only got worse. She started calling me names, accusing me of cheating on her, saying I was the one who was unfaithful, an obvious lie, but she's good at gaslighting. She's already trying to weaken my resolve, saying I'm going to lose everything, that I'm a terrible husband, and that she deserves half of everything because she's sacrificed so much for this marriage. That's her favorite line, trying to make me feel guilty for wanting to protect what's mine. It's classic manipulative behavior, and I see right through it now. One night she came home late again, smelling like perfume and cigarettes, trying to act innocent. She had the nerve to say she was out with friends, but I knew better. I followed her on her phone, saw her texting someone named Tom, and that was the last straw. I confronted her right then and there. She started crying, saying I was accusing her of everything, that I was paranoid. But I had enough. I told her I knew she was lying, that I had proof, and I was done playing her game. That's when she snapped at me, called me possessive and jealous, and told me I was ruining everything because I didn't trust her. That moment made me realize how deep her lies ran. She's been scheming behind my back for months, probably planning how to take what she thinks she's entitled to. I could see her bitchy side come out, the way she snapped at me, the way she dismissed my concerns as insecurities. She's always been like that, sharp-tongued, manipulative, and demanding. Now, she was just turning that bitchiness into a weapon to try to get her way. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I'd loved her once, but now I saw her for what she really was, a liar and a cheat. I knew I had to get ahead of her. I started gathering more evidence, screenshots of her texts, pictures of her meeting Mike, copies of bank transactions where she'd been spending money on her lover. I also contacted a private investigator I found online. His name is Mike, and he specializes in infidelity cases. I didn't want to leave anything to chance. If she was going to try to claim half my inheritance, I needed to make sure I had everything documented. I also started thinking about the emotional toll, how betrayed I felt, how angry I was at her for lying and cheating, but also how helpless I felt knowing she was trying to take everything I owned. Meanwhile, she kept insisting she was the victim, that I was the one controlling her, that I didn't trust her. The bitchy attitude was still there, sharp and relentless. She'd say things like, "You think I'm just going to roll over and let you keep all your money? You're crazy." Or, "I've sacrificed so much for this marriage and now you're throwing it all away over some stupid affair." I couldn't believe how good she was at turning things around. The more I tried to stand my ground, the more she'd twist my words into proof of her victimhood. That's her game: play the victim, manipulate the situation and spin it in her favor. At this point, I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but I knew I couldn't back down. I had to protect myself and my inheritance. I couldn't let her get away with this, lying, cheating, and then trying to claim half of what I inherited from my parents. I was ready to fight her in court to show everyone the truth, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. She's got her lies, her manipulations, and her bitchy attitude all working against me. Still, I refuse to let her walk all over me. I've come too far, worked too hard, and I won't be a victim of her schemes. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I do know this: I'm not going down without a fight. She's already trying to ruin me financially, but I'll do whatever it takes to keep what's mine. I've learned a lot during this nightmare about trust, betrayal, and the importance of standing up for yourself. And I'll tell anyone out there listening, if you're in a similar situation, don't wait. Gather your evidence, get legal advice, and don't let anyone take advantage of you. Because at the end of the day, your integrity, your money, and your peace of mind are worth fighting for. The legal battle is turning out to be more complicated than I initially thought, but I'm not backing down. Sarah's been trying to spin her narrative, claiming I've been controlling and emotionally abusive, even trying to paint herself as the victim of my supposed jealousy. It's the classic move: twist facts, cry victim, and hope everyone buys her lies. But I've got enough evidence now to shut her up. The footage, the texts, the bank statements, everything points to her betrayal, her scheming, and her blatant attempt to take what isn't hers. I've also hired a forensic accountant to review the bank statements I collected. I want to be sure that every dollar she spent on Mike or on her own lifestyle is documented. I want to show that her claims to half of my inheritance are baseless, especially since the house and the money are in my name alone. It's frustrating how she's already trying to threaten me, saying she'll fight for her rights, and that she'll ruin me financially if I don't give her what she wants. That bitchy attitude of hers is relentless, but I'm prepared now. I've learned to stay calm, keep my evidence organized, and let the law do its work. One thing I didn't expect was her to start spreading rumors about me to our neighbors and friends. She's trying to paint me as some controlling, jealous husband who's just trying to keep her under lock and key. I heard she told one of our neighbors that I've been abusive and possessive, trying to turn everyone against me. It's typical Sarah. She's always been good at twisting facts to make herself look innocent, even when she's the one cheating behind my back. That's when I decided I needed to take control of the situation. I hired a private investigator, like I said, and he's been gathering intel on her activities. I also started documenting everything she does: her late-night phone calls, her secret meetings, her attempts to manipulate people. I realized I can't just rely on court documents. I have to show everyone her true colors. That's when I started thinking about how to use her own bitchy attitude against her. Meanwhile, she's still trying to gaslight me, calling me crazy, saying I'm the one who's paranoid. She's been going on about how I've been controlling her and that she's sacrificed so much for the marriage. That's her favorite line, trying to guilt-trip me into giving her a share of everything. But I see right through it. I know her game. She's been scheming for months, probably planning how to squeeze me out of my inheritance. In the midst of all this, I had a confrontation I'll never forget. I told her I knew about her affair with Mike and that I had evidence to prove it. Her reaction: she laughed, that bitchy smirk on her face. She said, "You're crazy. You're just jealous because I don't want to be with you anymore." She then accused me of being emotionally abusive again, trying to make me feel guilty. But I just looked at her and said, "You've been lying to me for months. You think I'm going to let you get away with this?" That's when she started crying, trying to manipulate everyone around her, but I didn't fall for it. I was done playing her game. I also started looking into how to legally protect my inheritance. Because I inherited that house from my parents, it's in my name and I have clear documentation. But she's already threatening to claim half of it, claiming that we're marital property. That's a lie. I know the law well enough to know that inheritance in my name isn't part of our marital assets unless we commingled it, like putting it in joint accounts or using it for joint expenses. I haven't done that, and I intend to prove it in court. The emotional toll is still heavy. I feel betrayed, angry, and exhausted, but I also feel a strange sense of clarity. I've realized how manipulative she's been, how she's used her bitchy attitude to get her way, and how she's trying to turn everyone against me. I won't let that happen. I've started preparing myself for the fight ahead. I've reached out to a family law expert, and I'm gathering everything I need to show the court that I'm the rightful owner of the property and the inheritance. Right now, I'm just trying to stay strong. I know she'll keep trying to gaslight me to make me seem like the villain, but I've got the truth on my side, and I won't let her take what's mine, my house, my money, my future. She thinks she's clever, but I see through her now. The bitchy, manipulative woman who's been lying and cheating her way through our marriage isn't going to win. Not this time. I've learned that I have to fight for what's right, even if it means going through a legal hell. Because at the end of the day, I know the truth, and I know I deserve better than her lies. The court date is set, and I'm not going to lie, I feel like I've been running a gauntlet. Every day, Sarah tries new ways to manipulate the situation. She's calling friends, neighbors, anyone she can spin her lies to, trying to turn the tide against me. She's still bitchy, still claiming she's the victim and insisting I've been controlling her. But I've learned her game now. I have all the evidence and I'm ready to present it. Still, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed. This whole process has drained me emotionally and mentally. One of the most shocking things she did recently was try to file a false restraining order against me. She claimed I was abusive, that I'd been stalking her, even though I've never raised my voice at her or laid a finger on her. I knew she was trying to scare me into backing off, maybe hoping I'd be too afraid to fight for my rights. I had to get a lawyer involved immediately, and he advised me to gather proof that I was innocent, texts, witnesses, anything that could disprove her claims. I also hired a private investigator to document her activities, her late-night meetings, her secret calls. I wanted to be prepared for everything. Meanwhile, she's still maintaining her bitchy attitude, calling me crazy, possessive, and abusive, trying to paint herself as the victim. She's already told friends and neighbors that I've been controlling and that I don't trust her. It's all part of her strategy to weaken my case and gain sympathy. But I've seen through her. I know how she lies and manipulates. I've kept detailed notes of every interaction, every lie she's told, and every suspicious activity she's engaged in. I want the court to see her real face, not the victim she's pretending to be. The biggest challenge is her claiming half of my inheritance, $800 that I inherited from my parents. She's arguing that because we're married, she's entitled to half of everything, even though the house and the money are in my name alone. That's what I've been fighting for, my right to keep what's legally mine. The lawyer explained that because I didn't commingle the inheritance, she doesn't have a legal claim to it. But she's good at twisting facts, and I know she'll try to argue otherwise in court. I've been preparing my defense meticulously. I've gathered all the documentation proving the property is solely in my name. I've got bank statements showing the money I inherited, and I've even hired a forensic accountant to verify that Sarah has been spending money on Mike and her lifestyle, not on our household expenses. I want to show that she's been scheming to take advantage of the situation. The emotional toll is still tough. I've been feeling betrayed, furious, and exhausted every time I think about her lying, cheating, and trying to steal my inheritance. I get sick to my stomach. I keep replaying the moments when she was bitchy and manipulative, how she'd twist words, accuse me of things I didn't do, and try to make herself look innocent. That woman has always been good at playing the victim, but I see her now for what she really is, a liar and a schemer. I also realize I need to stay focused on what matters, protecting my rights and my future. I've started mental preparations for the courtroom. I've rehearsed what I'll say, how I'll present my evidence, and how I'll counter her lies. I've learned that staying calm and composed is crucial, especially when she's trying to provoke me or spin her narratives. I refuse to let her manipulate the situation anymore. The hardest part is knowing this fight isn't just about money or property. It's about her betrayal, her lies, and her willingness to destroy everything for her own gain. She's already threatened to ruin me financially if I don't give her what she wants, and I believe she'll do everything she can to make good on that threat. But I'm prepared now. I've got a good lawyer, solid evidence, and a clear understanding of the law. I won't let her walk all over me. Looking back, I realize I've learned a lot from this whole nightmare. I've learned that some people are capable of incredible betrayal, and that trust has to be earned, not given freely. I've also learned the importance of standing up for yourself, especially when someone tries to manipulate and lie their way to the top. And most importantly, I've learned that money isn't everything. What matters is your integrity, your dignity, and your right to protect what's yours. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm not going to give up. I'll fight for my inheritance, for my reputation, and for my peace of mind. Because I refuse to let her win. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about justice. And I'm going to see it through, no matter how bitchy she gets or how much she tries to spin her lies. I've come too far to back down now. The court hearing finally arrived, and I felt a strange mixture of relief and anxiety. All the months of gathering evidence, preparing my case, and dealing with her manipulations had led up to this moment. I knew Sarah was going to try every trick in the book. She'd lie, manipulate, and play the victim to sway the judge. But I was ready. I had the facts, the proof, and a clear conscience. My lawyer David was confident, and that gave me some comfort, but I knew the battle wasn't over yet. When I walked into the courtroom, I saw her sitting there with her bitchy smirk, trying to look innocent. She looked confident, but I could see the nervousness behind her eyes. She knew she was caught, but she was doing her best to act like she was the wronged party. The judge called the case, and I took the stand first. I presented all my evidence, photos, videos, bank statements, the forensic accountant's report. I explained how the house was solely in my name, how the inheritance was mine, and how she had been scheming to take it all. I kept my tone calm, confident, and factual. Then it was her turn. She tried to spin her narrative, claiming she was entitled to half of everything because we were married. She cried, threw in some tears, and played the victim card hard. She said I'd been controlling, emotionally abusive, and that she deserved her fair share of the inheritance. But I called her out on her lies. I showed the judge her texts with Mike, her spending records, and her attempts to manipulate people around us. I told the court she'd been unfaithful, scheming, and lying from the start. The judge listened carefully, asking questions, scrutinizing the evidence. It was intense, but I felt a sense of clarity. I knew I had done everything I could to prove my case. After a long deliberation, the judge made the ruling. She declared that the property was solely in my name and that the inheritance was legally mine, not subject to division. Sarah's claims were dismissed. She sat there, stunned, trying to hold her bitchy attitude together, but I saw the defeat in her eyes. When I left the courthouse, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I had fought hard and I'd won. It wasn't just about the money. It was about standing up for myself, about not letting her manipulate or destroy me. I realized how much I'd grown through this ordeal, how I'd learned to trust my instincts, gather evidence, and fight for what's right. In the aftermath, I decided to move on. I sold the house, cut ties with Sarah completely, and started rebuilding my life. I found peace in knowing I had protected my inheritance and, more importantly, my dignity. The betrayal hurt, but it also taught me a lesson. Never ignore the signs, never let someone manipulate your trust, and always stand up for yourself. Looking back, I see this nightmare as a turning point. It made me stronger, more aware, and more determined. I've learned that some people are willing to betray everything for their own gain, but that honesty and integrity can see you through even the darkest times. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm just grateful I fought for what was right. And if there's one thing I hope others take away from this, it's that no matter how bitchy, manipulative, or scheming someone seems, the truth always has a way of coming out. And when it does, you better be ready to stand your ground.